Good morning, Kyle.
Morning.
We are here to talk about Disney earnings.
Just the two of us.
Building castles in the sky. We'll maybe talk about some of the things going on. It's interesting. I'm watching CNBC right now, just in the background in case something happens. But opening the bell is Fox Business, because Maria Bartiromo, formerly of CNBC, is celebrating 25 years of becoming the first reporter to broadcast live from the New York Stock Exchange trading floor. So congratulations to her from Fox Business, not owned by Disney. So you, Kyle, you might not know this. In addition to being the executive editorial director of LaughingPlace.com, you are also a consumer finance expert.
I don't know about expert, but yes, I'm a personal finance blogger. Definitely an interest of mine. I'd say you're definitely more the business finance guy. So between the two of us, we can make sense of this.
I can definitely say Kyle has saved me money and made me money on a personal level. So the opening bell just rang. Stocks are moving lower. Disney is, sorry, pulled up the wrong app. Is starting the day lower at down about $0.50 to 115.83. To give you some context, Disney's 52-week high was
like 140 something, isn't it?
Yeah, about 140. So, I mean, I guess I'm surprised at how well the stock is doing right now, considering, movies aren't coming out. TV is a little pressured because obviously sports are just now coming back, but also, ad rates are lower, and some parks are open, but they're not running at full bore by any stretch. So, right. To me, what this is telling me is that Disney's being priced based off of future earnings. They're looking at it as a chance to buy Disney lower because eventually COVID will go away and the parks, people will go to the parks and people go to the movies, and thank God for Disney Plus, right? Like, I think it's kind of balancing out because people are talking about how the stock, people are streaming more because they're stuck inside. So obviously that would help Disney Plus. I'm not saying it's going to offset, complete shutdown of the parks, because I think it's important to remember the quarter that they're going to announce today is April, May, and June. 30th. Yeah. So basically everything.
They've opened in one more market since then in terms of Disney Plus, Japan, which not a big market overall, but I'd say a big market for Disney Plus.
Yeah, and I think now that we're going a little bit more international with Disney Plus and through sort of different mechanisms, sometimes they're partnering with different providers. I think you're going to see a little bit more cloudiness around the number, and the revenue per subscriber. But yeah, I mean, I think Disney Plus had a great quarter. I think both, but I mean, I shouldn't say great quarter. I think Disney Plus has had success after the quarter with Hamilton. Obviously caught the zeitgeist. And I think Black is King has been very popular too. And so, but we got to remember that happened July, Hamilton came out July 3rd. This quarter ended at the end of June. So
yeah, and that's kind of the question, is we don't know which number we're going to get. I mean, in theory, Disney has said that they're going to give us the end of the quarter number, but they have been known to be like, and actually just offhand, it's up to date. I think there's actually some risk in doing that. Maybe not. I think in this case, if there's any chance that if we think as many people subscribe just for Hamilton as a lot of people do, and there's a chance that those numbers are going to go down, then obviously you wouldn't want to announce it. But by the time they announce next quarter, they'll have the west of Europe, not the rest of Europe, but several more European markets. So they could update us, and then still, even if they lose some domestically, that might make up for it, and it won't actually see a loss.
Well, that's why I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a bloodbath when the earnings come out. I mean, I don't think there's any way there's not one. But what I think will happen is then, stock will go down, and then Bob Chapek will start talking. They'll probably announce a couple things that are happening, and then the stock will rebound because they'll see, Disney's plan to get out of COVID. That's my guess. I mean, assuming the plan is good, which, was a little bit more reliable under Bob Iger, then at least we were more confident. I mean, Bob Chapek hasn't had, this is his second quarter. So, we don't quite know what his plan is. But I think you're buying Disney not for the pandemic. You're buying Disney for after the pandemic. Because
you're buying at a discount.
Yeah, I would expect, particularly because, I mean, there's no question. There's people that are challenged right now. There's people that are going to have, that are struggling. But there's also plenty of people that have more disposable income right now because they receive stimulus money, or they didn't lose their job and they've spent nothing because there's nothing to do. I think a lot of people just sort of slow down their consumer activity. Just, they don't go out to dinner as much. I mean, just because going out has become more stressful. Even if you can, people just, I don't think, do at least as much. And so I think once this is over, who knows when that is, people are going to be like, okay, what are you going to, you just got vaccinated. What are you going to do next? I think there is a rebound coming, but I don't know when that rebound will be because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And that's not just you guessing that people aren't doing things. Like we've seen that the savings rate in the past few months has been like astronomically high, like as much as 1/3 on average, people are saving of their income. So I think a lot of not just Disney, but obviously a lot of the airlines and stuff are hoping that there's going to be a surge in demand afterwards, which I think is fair to some degree. It might not all come at once, like some people are expecting, like kind of how we're thinking the economy might bounce back immediately. I think it'll roll out with whatever sort of solution we have.
Well, I also think, I mean, I hope people will like the feeling of having savings. I mean, I don't want everyone to, I think the savings rate needed to get higher, just sort of economically, because when people save and have money invested in business, I think it gives them a better perspective. But, I mean, people want to live their lives too. And
well, it's also kind of the tale of two countries, though. You have people who didn't lose their jobs and are able to work from home and are having high savings rates, and then you have people who don't have a job, and even if their business reopened, they're getting laid off. And so it's kind of this weird dichotomy right now where
the economy. What was going to happen in terms of the economy after, once once the vaccine comes out, we would be able to make recommendations, which we're not going to. Full disclosure, we both own Disney, I believe. But
have like 3 shares. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'll depend. Like, will the people who have had the chance to save money rebound the economy enough that it will cause, people to travel, which would then cause more service industry work. I think managing the rebound is going to be a lot more important than managing the pandemic itself, because, I mean, people need money. There's a certain segment of the population that needs money now. They need assistance. I get that. But how we let the money that was saved come back down to where it was, would have been otherwise is going to be interesting.
Yeah. And I think it's also, when we're talking about Disney stock being higher than we thought, I think it's important to note that the stock market as a whole has also been it dipped really hard, and now is it back to record highs, or is it just near record highs? So Disney obviously isn't as high as it was, but I think that's a factor too. I think it could have been a lot lower if the stock market as a whole had tanked more.
Well, and you have the companies leading the sort of bounce. So this technology companies were just valued at a different rate than anybody else. So if they make a little bit more, their stock price, their multiples higher. So their earnings will magnify more than Disney's earnings. Bob Iger has been trying to get people to view Disney as a technology company, right? Because there's future growth based off of Disney Plus and stuff. So they want to get that multiple higher because the earnings will grow is one thing, but then just how you value the company based off those earnings is different. Like Disney's sorry, let me look. Disney's price to earnings is 43. When then if you look at something like, I'll pull up Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to some degree,
or like Microsoft, who's buying Kevin Mayer's TikTok,
potentially they're in talks.
Is is higher. So it's a different value. It's just a different proposition.
Yeah,
But
and I think that's kind of I understand where he's coming from in that regard, but like, come on, Disney's not really a technology company.
oh no, but
They
that's
have
part of
technology
it, right?
businesses, but I mean, you can't compare them to like Square.
No, but that's it's just a way to get artificially inflate the stock price. I mean, it's to have people look at it. Now, granted, with Disney Plus, you got to take that. You're going to value Disney Plus at a different rate than you're going to evaluate a mature business like studios or parks, because there's obviously much more growth potential in Disney Plus than there is in the legacy business. But that takes nuance, which
I hear people are good with that.
yeah, right.
Everyone loves nuance. I don't know what you're talking about.
I will say Disney stock has turned positive despite the fact the Dow is down. Disney up a quarter to 116.59. Looks like Microsoft is the one that's dragging down the Dow today. Don't know if it's just TikTok concerns or if there's something else going on there, but this is the first time the Dow and the S&P 500 have been down for first time in 3 days. So they did have a good streak. Dow not down too much, so I would say decent day for the market considering everything going on. But would you buy Disney now?
I might wait till it goes a little bit lower. I mean, I'm also a fan of setting like multiple limit orders. So if I know I want to buy a couple things of stock, I might do like 115 and then 110 if it was above 115, obviously. Things like that. I think I've purchased Disney as low as 100. So there's definitely room there. But I think in the long term, I mean, that's kind of the key with not just Disney, but I think a lot of stocks in general is don't buy it and then wait till it goes up $20 and then sell it right away. The idea is to hold on to it for a while. I think Disney will be a good investment in the long term, personally.
Oh yeah, especially some stock like Disney, where we, I mean, as Disney fans, I think we have faith that they're doing a lot of great things, and it's, to me, the real question is Disney Plus and Hulu's growth. I mean, they've sort of announced that Hulu will not be as expanding as fast as it would have been otherwise because of everything going on. And sort of I don't want to say a lack of capital because I don't want to make it sound like Disney capital is short, but just an effort to sort of keep their war chest. I remember 2008, they sort of said, okay, we're going to stop. We're going to stop share repurchases. We're going to stop spending money, basically. They still invested in the parks, but they didn't sort of return money to investors. And this time, they even went a step further and stopped the dividend.
Yeah.
So, just as a way to kind of be able to ride it out, because you don't want to pay out a dividend and then, find out that the pandemic is going to take another 6 months longer than you thought, another year longer than you thought. Because you can always declare another dividend or special dividend, but now's probably time to just sort of button down the hatches, which makes sense to me.
Do you think Disney would have been in a better or worse position to handle COVID if it was before the Fox acquisition?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think
there's pros and cons because I think Fox helps bolster Disney Plus, but at the same time, spending $60 billion does not help you.
No, I think it's obviously they would have had more sort of cash in the bank. Now they did finance most of it, and so it's long. As long as it's not a long-term thing, I don't think it's a major impact. My question is with what's going on, would there have been a better purchase opportunity? Like now Disney's not going to buy I don't think anything significant. But there's other companies that might be a little bit more distressed today than they would have otherwise. So maybe there was a better company to buy at a lower price. But as we see, the market's not like it would have to be something small because these big public companies seem to be doing okay. But there's they could have maybe bought Quibi.
Does anyone want Quibi?
I don't think so. I saw an ad today for some Kiefer, The Fugitive, right? But the ad was, TV presented. It wasn't presented like this. Did they change their thing?
No, that's the whole. They have both.
Oh.
You're able to switch between them.
Did they always have both, or I thought like one?
Yeah, no, that was their entire thing. The turnstiles, so that every show that I went to the keynote, so but yeah, the whole point is that you can watch it in either landscape or portrait, and most of the time it's just cropped, but there are some exclusive content on there where changing it actually shows you a different point of view or a different like a different part of the story, sort of. So I thought that was interesting.
I didn't even download it.
I downloaded it because I got it for free with T-Mobile.
Yeah.
So I've watched like a couple of things on it, but yeah, they're I think they got nominated for an Emmy though. Something good.
Disney Plus got nominated for a slew of them too. I mean, I'm not trying to compare.
The prestige categories like best drama.
Yeah, when I said a bad word when they popped up Mandalorian because I was like, what? I mean, I'm just so used to there was no broadcast shows on nominated for best drama. Everything was cable or streamer because I'm used to those edgy sort of I don't know what the word is, but artistic or whatever. Prestige, yeah. Not to be confused with The Prestige. And so I was surprised that something like The Mandalorian, which while I thought was excellent, sort of has this franchise stank on it. I think in terms of people's perception, I just those films just don't do well with these things, big corporate things. But I'm happy because I think it was fantastic. And as Mike C will point out, I think it's changes the way we do filmmaking. I mean, just the technology involved will make it much more accessible to do epic storytelling on a budget.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the Disney Gallery Mandalorian, specifically the technology episode, that's what we're talking about. I had no idea that all of that was involved. Right. I took it at face value. So I think that's definitely an eye-opening special.
So just to give an update, because this is the way the stock market works, Disney stock has now turned. Oh, nope, it's back positive again, up 11 cents, 116.46. But it's teetering around the sort of prime there. But let me pull, and then if I pull up the indexes, the Dow is down 22 points, which is basically nothing. So basically, the stock market and Disney are kind of in step with not moving at all. So I got another question for you. So typically, don't follow this advice as investing advice, but typically I noticed if Disney earnings are good, back before Bob Chapek, Bob Iger would show up on CNBC and get interviewed before the earnings call. If they were bad, he wouldn't be interviewed. He would be interviewed the next morning or something. And so I always said I was like, oh, it's going to beat the street because Bob Iger's on CNBC. And it always did. I mean, this worked every time. You can go back and research it. But the other thing they sometimes will do is, if the earnings are bad, which at least, in terms of dollar value, we'd expect it to be bad because nothing was open. They'll announce stuff, right, to kind of show oh no, we got stuff coming. Things are going to turn around. We're doing this, that, and the other thing. Do you think we're going to get a Mandalorian season 2 trailer or some information about some stuff coming to Disney Plus or what?
I think something Disney Plus related would make sense. I don't know if it'd be a trailer, maybe a more specific date.
Mm.
Because even if they say October, like they have been, I think as investors, they're ignore that, or you just remind them. Like I feel like people forget a lot of that stuff. And as Becca brought up last night, we still have some other Disney Plus projects that we know about that have kind of fallen off the radar, like Monsters at Work. Um, so maybe something related to that.
Speaking of Disney Plus, Agnes Chu leaving to go to Condé Nast. Thoughts on that? Former LP Person of the Year.
Former LP Person of the Year. I don't know. I think it's interesting, but I mean, good for her, I guess. I don't see it as a sign of problems on either side. Honestly, I just see it as
I'm reading the tea leaves a little different than you are on this one. I think Bob Iger respects and appreciates Agnes Chu, having been having had her as a direct report. But I feel like she might have been a little bit too proactive in her role as the head of content for Disney Plus, in that I think the idea was Lucasfilm will create The Mandalorian, Marvel will create what they got, and they would, and Disney Plus was just there to release it, create some shoulder content, stuff like that. And from what I kind of understood is that there were people who were, there were ideas that just kept getting tossed out, or blocked for whatever reason, maybe good reasons, maybe bad reasons. And I feel like the business units who kind of were looking at Disney Plus as a way to create the content they want to create without like having to worry about network schedules and all that stuff that kind of prevented more stuff from being on ABC, for instance, saw it as a barrier. I also look at, some of the shows that were supposed to go to Disney Plus. I can think of at least two ended up going straight to YouTube. So there was something going on there. And, I think they're even dumping some, the shows that they are releasing all at once. Not saying that they're not trying to get them to work, but I feel like, there wasn't a lot of effort around Road Trip, not a lot of effort around Big Fib. Like, I feel like they, you can kind of tell by how much publicity emails we get or how much publicity they do anywhere. Be Our Chef would be another one. That they didn't love them. Like, I think you're seeing them go into a more prestige world with their content. They'll still do stuff, I think, like World According to Jeff Goldblum and smaller scale stuff, but I think stuff that seems to capture the zeitgeist a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I mean, we always knew they're going to do a lot of reality stuff, and I don't think that was going to be very exciting for anyone. I kind of figured that would just be a way of building up a library without, investing in the level of a Mandalorian or a High School Musical, the musical, the series.
Yeah, it just feels like, I mean, especially, maybe the plan changed after COVID, but, they, in the last month, we had sort of two things that seem to get a big push and seem to move the needle. Black is King and Hamilton. And, the Disney Plus original films that came before that, not saying that that's her fault, but, just never seemed to catch on. Noelle, Togo, Timmy Failure, I liked them, but I just, you look at what's trending on Disney Plus, and they just don't show up there. You get a lot of Simpsons, Jesse, Moana constantly for whatever reason, and they just don't seem to break through. And maybe that's okay, but I feel like if it comes to that, National Geographic changed the paradigm. There's so much reality content from National Geographic that just naturally comes over that I don't know that you need to force it. And I mean, I love things like Imagineering Story. I like Road Trip. I like the Frozen behind the scenes documentary series Into the Unknown. So I'm not saying, yeah, I like these things. I just don't know that that's what's going to be in the future. Maybe, and maybe we'll find out more. but they have a level of investment they want to do, and I think they want to do. You're going to see more going to bigger projects, which is kind of contra to what counter what they originally said. Oh, we're gonna go. Thanks, Shelley, for that that update. We're gonna do the singles and doubles here. I think, I mean, I don't expect to see Avengers 5 on Disney Plus, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do something. They focus more in on those Marvel and Star Wars. I don't know what you call it. Big ticket items.
Yeah, well, I think they're gonna have to stick to series in that regard, because I think they have to toe the line with cinemas as well. Like, it's okay to do Hamilton, like that was just going to be a glorified Fathom event anyway, and it's okay for them to pull like Artemis Fowl and the one and only Ivan. But if they're going to make an original, let's say they are going to make Avengers 5 and put it on Disney Plus exclusively from the beginning, I think you're going to anger the cinema owners, which, you could argue that they need Disney more than Disney needs them. But I think it's still a bad move to cross them.
Yeah, well, I also don't know that you want to kill the theater business. I mean, it's still a way to, and these series. There's no reason you can't make a 3-hour movie and make it 6 episodes, right? Like, it can be series in name only. But I think
that goes a long way, though.
I mean, I almost think of it as like the WWE method, right? Like, you're going to have the sort of weekly storytelling, and then you're going to have a pay-per-view big event. And I think that makes sense for especially something like Marvel or even Star Wars, where, like, people seem to understand what the difference is. And why turn away, $1 billion in box office just to make Disney Plus look better when you can do both? There's nothing that says you can't do both. And, the budgets on the Disney Plus shows are smaller, or I should say more smaller. They're more efficient than, a big Marvel movie.
Well, currently, I mean, another thing that we're kind of forgetting about Disney Plus is that they might have some stuff already in the bank, but they're going to have to resume production on some of the stuff, and that's not going to be easy or cheap, because you're going to have all these other safety things in place. They might have smaller crews. I guess that could save money, but they're going to have to invest in, testing people every day and everything, and that's going to add up too. So.
Yeah, and I guess that that's why when does it come back? Like, when's the vaccine happen, right? Like, when does this end? Is like the ultimate question in all this, because let's say you want to, instead of starting in November, you start in February. Like, that might be worth it to avoid all the potential pitfalls and the testing and all that. But meanwhile, The Bachelorette's going strong wherever that is, in some undisclosed location. Shark Tank is filming that right now. But like, it's hard to do an action movie without touching people. Going back to the theaters, though, Universal announced that they were going to, and AMC theaters announced that they were going to go to a 17-day theatrical window. And they've tried it. Paramount tried it before with, I forget, maybe it was Regal.
Cubans tried it before.
Yeah. Oh, but, and I forget, was it Tower Heist or something like that?
I don't think it was Tower Heist. No, they're usually smaller things. I don't think there's anything that's been too big.
What do you think of this?
I mean, it's something we've been talking about for a long, long time, is shortening the theatrical windows, and especially Disney was always a target. And there's always someone who asks during the earnings calls if Iger or Chapek are thinking about shortening the theatrical window, and their answer is always the same. I don't know. I have to see how it works. I've always so interestingly, going back to Mark Cuban, I wrote a paper on him back in college, so 15 years ago, about theatrical windows and how he at the time owned HDNet Movies, Landmark Cinemas, and Magnolia Pictures. So he decided that he was going to release this movie Bubble by Steven Soderbergh on TV, in theaters, and on DVD or whatever at the same time. And my solution was that theaters should sell you movies. Like, you could go watch a movie and then immediately buy the Blu-ray from them, which, is a little outdated today, but you could get like a download key or something. And I think that'd be beneficial to everyone, because the theater could get a cut. you would have the movie right away, which you're probably gonna. I don't know. I don't know if this is the same for you, but for most movies, I might walk out saying, "Oh, I can't wait to own that," and then it comes out and I just forget about it. So
Right.
having that immediacy, I think, would be helpful.
Yeah,
So I think maybe if they work out something like that to where they're getting a cut of the next theatrical window part, that could be good.
I mean, I don't want to lose sight that Universal is owned by Comcast, and so they have sort of a vested interest in digital sell through because you can buy it through your cable. You know that that other people don't have. Disney has Disney Plus, but you pay you pay that regardless. You don't. There's not a premium Disney Plus where you pay an extra $20 and get. Yeah, well, but I think you know my concern is that some of these movies, like an Avengers or Force Awakens, have long repeat value. And if you change the consumer behavior, I'm worried you'll lose that because there's no I don't it doesn't pencil out to me that you charge them, let's say you charge a family for a family movie, a 4 quadrant film, of four, let's say charge them $10 a pop, or which is cheap, versus paying $20 for a download code. Who knows how many people are watching that, right? So for a big event movie, now for a smaller picture, that like Universal sometimes does that Disney typically doesn't anymore, might make more sense, because it doesn't, kind of comes in, no one really notices unless they do, and then okay, you saw the ad for the movie. Now I see it on my Comcast app. Maybe I'll buy it. But for big budget Jurassic World kind of films, like I think you want to let those run until they're ready to, not run. They talk about how you don't need to market it twice, but you're only getting one sell through possibly instead of getting two sell throughs. Like I'll market something twice if I get twice the return on it.
Yeah. But I think that for family films, there is, there is something about, even if it costs more money, the theater experience, even if it's just, treating it's a special thing for the kid and it's not that expensive. So I could still see those having legs, even if it is available on Blu-ray in a normal world, not necessarily the current world.
Shelley says that she'd argue that consumer habits have changed, and who knows how many people will readopt their old habits. I don't disagree with you, Shelley, but I also don't know how many people will just want to go to a movie theater just to go to a movie theater when this is over. I mean, you've seen a big boom in the drive-in theaters, and that they're not showing anything new except under rare circumstances. We went to go see Wizard of Oz, which is, I don't believe, a new release. So
are you sure? There was a Lea Michele one a few years ago.
And then I look at something like Greatest Showman, which like built its audience over time. Like it didn't start off so great, but then just kept going. Now you could say, okay, it's not going to start great, but then it'll go boffo on digital. But then at the same time, because those numbers are not necessarily as public, like we're so used to box office, like I feel like no matter those films that become popular on video, unless it becomes like a hocus pocus kind of situation, I don't think, they always sort of viewed as not being successful. Like you have this weird sort of not quite a sleeper hit, but I don't know, it wasn't an initial box office hit.
Well, I think we'd kind of adjust the metrics. I mean, we've already kind of done that with box office to where Thursday night previews used to be counted as a Thursday. And because they weren't at midnight, we stopped doing midnights after Aurora. And, kind of like, I know the metric you're supposed to look at for TV shows is live, but more and more we're hearing about the live +7. So I think it could be a similar thing for where if there is a shorter window, you wouldn't just look at box office. You look at box office plus first X weeks of sales.
Got some breaking news from ESPN. You ready for this?
Sure.
Starting Saturday, August 8th at 9 a.m. Eastern, Fortnite players can jump into Party Royale and watch ESPN 8 The Ocho. They'll be able to watch the world's best unconventional sports like cornhole, diving, robot fights, and more, all live from Party Royale's big screen.
Are they just showing the same programs that they've shown like 3 times now?
I didn't get there yet. This marks the first time ESPN presented content in Fortnite's Party Royale and 4 years of ESPN 8, The Ocho. It's available on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, Switch, iOS, and Android. Party Royale is Fortnite's experimental and evolving social space. Players leave their weapons and materials behind to hang out with friends, play games, watch their favorite musicians perform, and more. Players can jump in and anytime before the show ends at 1:45 Eastern or catch the rebroadcast airing from 4 p.m. to 8:45 Eastern. Highlights of the weekend include the Johnsonville ACL Cornhole Championships 2020 Kickoff Battle, 2019 Deaf Diving World Championship, 2019 Stupid Robot Fighting League, 2019 Spikeball College Championship, 2019 Golden Tee World Championship, and 2018 Classic Tetris World Championship. That's a new one to me. Additionally, the ESPN will make a collection of Ocho programming on demand within the ESPN app. The ESPN 8 The Ocho programming initiative got a start in August 2017, inspired by Dodgeball, a true dog.
You don't need to read the whole thing.
Story. If I got to finish the sentence. Featuring Vince Vaughn, Christine Taylor.
No, yeah, it sounds like a lot of stuff we've seen before, but some of that did sound kind of new.
Yeah, it's funny though. Like it's not actually on TV this time. Yeah, I guess they. So the one thing we should probably note is that one thing that Disney got out of the Fox acquisition was Dodgeball.
Yes, so now they can actually. Well, they were doing it before, even before they were in talks to buy Fox, as far as we know.
No, I think after the purchase, then they start showing the actual movie as part of
yes.
those. So.
Well, it was. I don't think they had officially purchased it, but it was in the works. I mean, these timelines get so blurred.
Yeah, especially this one where it took like 18 years to finally get the purchase through.
Mm-hmm.
But we expected big news today, just because, quite frankly, yesterday it was very quiet, and typically on earnings day they'll announce a bunch of stuff, like the Club Penguin acquisition was announced on our earnings call. That's the one I always remember. But I don't know if Ocho is what we were expecting.
Ocho in a video game.
Ocho in a video game that we don't own. I don't know. Do you know who makes?
I think it's an independent developer.
Is it?
I forget the name of the company. I don't think they've been purchased yet.
Fortnite by Epic Games, who is owned by.
Or maybe they've been purchased.
Oh, no, private.
Yeah, see? Yes.
They also do the Unreal series and Gear of War.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, they must be making a lot of money. In 2014, Unreal Engine was named the most successful video game engine by Guinness World Records, which is what they use to make Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So it all comes back to the Mandalorian. So the earnings.
So that would be Disney's next acquisition if they had money.
Right. Hi, Gary. We hope you have a happy birthday coming up at the end of the month. We are not going to be at Disney World because we don't live there and travel is still kind of sketchy. But we'll do one last check at the stock price, which if I was better prepared, I would have just constantly here.
With all this talk about Disney Plus, do you think that Disney will get rid of physical media, or do you think there's going to be a greater demand for physical media due to changing the way the films are being changed and edited and stuff? Do you think there will be a demand for maybe even like higher end physical products like collector's editions and stuff like that?
I think collector's editions will become popular as a way to kind of like how people buy LPs now.
Mm-hmm.
And collectible boxes, like for the movies that you really want. Like, I don't know if people are gonna have the walls of like TV series by season that they used to. I'm looking at our DVD case right now, and it's like we never pop those open unless it's like one of those weird like forbidden films that isn't on a streaming service. Like we have all the episodes of Golden Girls available because we have the DVDs, but I feel like that's the way it's gonna it's going to come at maybe a higher price, come with a bunch of different stuff. Kind of like how video games are doing that too, where it's like, buy the physical and get the action figures, and because like the Marvel did like these phase sets for phase. I want to say phase 1 and 2. I don't think they did it for 3. Where it was like, but it came with like little like newspaper clippings and just sort of different paraphernalia, which I thought was pretty cool. The first phase 1 came in the sort of Tesseract briefcase, and phase 2 came in the orb from Guardians of the Galaxy. But I don't see physical media being sort of long for this world in terms of like a normal way of selling a movie. I mean, I almost see it more like you might buy something at a checkout counter that just has the download code in it, like just a way to make it easier to purchase.
Well, they've definitely done that already.
Yeah, but I don't know, and like there's just no energy around it. Like when they used to do DVD releases, we would get like, oh, interview this guy, do this, and I think particularly because of COVID, it kind of made it move faster because they moved things from theater to Disney Plus so fast that there wasn't even time for a physical release. So, I mean, it is what it is. I think, it's everyone has those DVD cases, which will probably not be needed for new people, but us old folks will probably just still keep them because we mass the collection and we don't want to destroy them. But yeah, I mean, why would you pop in a DVD when you can just say, hey, turn on Moana, and then the TV just plays it.
If you look up Disney stock right now, it has a fun little W.
A W?
Yeah, because you can see it pop and then fall and then up a little bit and then fall and then up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So right now it's up 50 cents to 116.85. S&P's up a little bit less than Disney, so Disney's sort of beating the street. But
I don't think that's what that means.
Well, beating the market. But
so give us the rundown. When do we get the press release and what time's the earnings call?
Press release will come out a few minutes after market close, which is 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So usually around 1:05. Then I believe the call is at 1:30. It had been moving it up a little bit sooner, but I believe 1:30. So that should last about an hour, maybe a little bit less. And then we will be on at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern to kind of go through what they have announced and what what the plan is after that.
But what if I want to know what's happening in real time?
We will be doing a live blog. So if you can't, if you don't want to listen to the call, which I don't recommend, as Bob Iger says, it's the worst part of his job. Back when that was part of his job.
Do you think he'll be on the call today? I have a feeling he still will be.
I will tell you, one thing to keep an eye out on is the capital investment in the parks. So capital investment, meaning, the amount they're investing in infrastructure and new experiences and long-term investments at the parks. They obviously have already announced that they're not going forward with the Mary Poppins experience, at least at this point. They've sort of cut back what the Epcot, where that World Celebration area was going to be with the
Festival
Center and the Spaceship Earth sort of integration into that. But we don't, what is going to be curious to me is how much are they pausing? Are they pausing, much more, or are they pausing, just sort of the basics or, stuff that maybe had been sort of low priorities? Because that will show you how quickly they expect things to rebound because of the investment that, the time it takes to build a new attraction. They can't just suddenly say, oh, things are better, look at our new ride. Although both Disney World and Disneyland have stuff that's basically ready to open. These things take time. So they're not going to go back to zero. They're still investing in their cruise line. They're still doing more than they might do otherwise. But what's that level going to be? It's sort of a tale of two things, right? 2001, after not even kind of before 9/11, when the economy started to sort of recess, they sort of stopped all investment. But then what happened was, is once it rebounded, there was nothing to do. Right, there's nothing to drive you to the park. That's why Dino-Rama kind of came up so suddenly. It was like, something fast and cheap. So then fast forward to 2008, the last time we had a recession, they didn't stop investing. They followed through with the DCA redo, some other stuff at Walt Disney World, growth obviously internationally, which ended up paying dividends for them, because by the time that stuff was ready to open, the economy had rebounded at least enough that it was able to be successful. So I'm curious as to where, obviously this is bad. This is the worst, we've seen in our lifetimes. Where do they want to put that investment level in the parks? Which is still fairly high considering where it was, 15 years ago. But, how much are they going to hold off on at this point? I don't know. And I'd look to see that number.
Yeah.
So we will be just coming in. Just want to let you know, Cinemark and Regal do not support the AMC Universal deal. So Universal can release things at AMC with a 17-day window, but that's all they can be released at. And it won't be showing in Regal and Cinemark, which is kind of a moot point at this point because none of them are open. But anyway, follow us we'll probably go live right around the closing bell, so around 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. We'll get the initial numbers out. We'll parsec the release. We'll blog the earnings call, and then join us back here again at 6 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern for our analysis of the earnings call. And what's that?
3 Pacific, 6.
Oh, did I screw that up?
Yeah.
Did not happen. And then if anything breaks during the day, we might pop back on to discuss that. But probably safe bet to say we will be they'll be holding things close to their vests until 4 p.m. Eastern. So thanks so much for joining me, Kyle. Great having your perspective. We'll be back later. Bye, everybody.